Hi, I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. Why am I in so close? Hold on, sorry guys. So I think, like a lot of you, I've been seeing a ton of videos that are kind of man on the street videos, and I've been seeing a lot coming out of the Chicago area, and it's wild. It looks wild. But anyway, I just thought we could try to break down a little bit of what we're seeing. Um, so, right now in Chicago, there is they've sent in a lot of ICE officers, and they're from Immigration and Custom Enforcement. That's what ICE stands for. And in the videos I did on the military and the police, we learned that ICE is a federal agency that that has law enforcement officers at a federal level. So one thing I've seen a lot in the comments is that the officers who are making arrests right now are wearing kind of tactical gear, and they have the masks on, but their uniforms say police. And I think for a lot of us, that's very confusing because you feel like the police is there to serve the people of that city or that town and to protect them. That's what they're supposed to do. So it feels like a strange thing. But what is happening is ICE are federal law enforcement, so they can wear police on their uniform. So they're federal police, not local. Now, there are local police who are sent in to keep control of crowd control and to protect the people who are protesting. That's a thing that sometimes happens. But it all gets sort of murky and confusing. And when you see these videos, it's extra confusing. So they're wearing police on their uniforms to show they're legitimate officers, not like imposters or vigilantes. That's the official explanation for why they're wearing police. But from the outside, when you see police, you think of the people who are supposed to protect you and answer 911 calls and serve your community. And that's just not what ICE does. So when you see them detaining someone, it feels like sort of a betrayal of what police are supposed to mean. So it's confusing. Now, the job of ICE is immigration law. So they are in a civil area of law, not criminal. So that's another thing. So these are civil. Not criminal. So there are two kinds of warrants for an arrest. There's a judicial warrant, which is issued by a judge. And that you'd need a local police officer for, and it's a criminal arrest. And then you'd read Miranda rights, all of that kind of stuff. But mostly what ICE is doing is an administrative warrant. Warrant. I did say that right. Warrant. And those would be signed by ICE supervisors. and therefore immigration detention. So ICE mostly uses this. It's an internal document and it's not like approved by a court. So when people ask ICE, they're like, show me a warrant, show me a warrant. ICE agents refuse because they don't have a judge's warrant to show. It's legal. It kind of feels weird, but it's because it looks like they're making a criminal arrest. But really they are serving an administrative warrant. Okay, so you might say, well, why are they wearing masks? Well, I saw one video where the guy said because of COVID, which I thought was interesting. That's what he told the woman. But I don't actually think. What they are saying, lately, not just ICE, but also some Homeland Security teams have been wearing masks and completely unmarked uniforms. And they're saying it's for protection, their own protection, to avoid being targeted or recognized or like doxxed. But it also means that people being arrested or seeing an arrest happen or protesting and people are coming out of cars, they don't know who's detaining them. And sometimes the badges and the name tags are covered. They have unmarked vehicles. So that's kind of scary. But that's the official thing on the masks is it's to help them keep their anonymity so that they don't get harassed. Okay. But you imagine if someone in a vest that says police, wearing a mask, refusing to show any identification, you'd have to wonder, is this a real police officer? Is this legal? Am I safe right now? I mean, I understand where the confusion is coming from. And it's even why a lot of governors and civil rights lawyers are calling this out as a problem. Now, the other thing that, hold on, let me get the other thing that could be happening, not right now in Chicago yet, but in some cities, is sending in the National Guard from other states. And definitely President Trump has been talking about this more, talking about the enemy within. So the National Guard, each state has a National Guard, and the governor of that state is in charge of the state's National Guard. But at the upper part of the chain, the president is in charge of it. So at the National Guard, what they're doing is deploying National Guard from other states into these. So you'll get West Virginia's National Guard in, wherever, Baltimore or whatever the thing is. But if they're deployed in cities, they should be wearing military uniforms. Not police, because they are not police. They should have their ID vests and badges. And they are supposed to be there to support and protect federal property, to support ICE officers in doing things like crowd control. I'm not saying this hasn't historically sometimes gone wrong, like at Kent State. We did a video about the National Guard at Kent State. But once they start doing crowd control, and it can start to feel like policing. And this is where there's a lot of confusion over what. There's a thing called the Posse Comitatus, which says that the federal government can't enforce domestic laws. And it can definitely start feeling that way if they are getting into crowd control and stuff. So it's something to keep an eye on, I would say. And you can look that up and try to understand that better. Okay. So that's something that's happening. But like in some cities right now, the courts have said, no, you can't send in National Guard. So we'll see how that all plays out. I don't know yet. Now, they are already in some places. Um, all right. So, there's always going to be two sides to these stories. And I would say, like, these ICE agents, they are enforcing the law that Congress wrote. And if someone is in the country illegally, ICE has the right to detain them. And as far as the mask goes, what they're saying is that they need that to remain anonymous and not be harassed. But then the other side would say, well, by having these masks on, how do we know if we aren't being harassed? You're in an unmarked vehicle. You have no identification. You have a mask. It could be anybody. It could be Joe up the street rented a car from Hertz and is going around beating people up. I mean, that's just too much anonymity. And if you're doing, well, I'm not going to get into my own. But I would say that some of the tactics that I've seen seem a little frightening. And, having police on there, I wonder if they could say, like, put these vests they have, they can stick anything to them. They're Velcro. They could put ICE police or something like that to make it more clear, so people don't feel like their local police department is doing these things. But lack of identification really crosses the line. I think if you're asked for your credentials to be grabbing somebody, you should be able to show that. I don't know. I really don't understand why they can't do that part of it. That's confusing. Very confusing to me. That feels un-American to me. It feels kind of whack. I mean, we've been taught, like, that police, to serve and protect, they have to identify themselves. They need to show us a warrant. They answer to the people. They can't just enter your home without a warrant. They need to read you Miranda rights, which I know they don't have to because these are civil. But it does feel like a criminal arrest they're making. They're pulling weapons on people. It seems wild for civil arrest. To me, that's my opinion. I am placing my opinion here. So, like always, who do we... Gosh, my writing's getting worse and worse by the minute. Who should we talk to about this? Because I know a lot of people are in the comments online. I'll be honest, I don't know how much that does. And I know these things feel like they don't do anything, but I would contact your Congress, both your House and your Senate. Let them know how you're feeling, and you'll probably get a pat letter back that basically tells you, yeah. But if they get enough of those, it can make a difference. If you have I would contact your governor, because they're in charge of the National Guard for your state, and let them know how you feel about using the National Guard. Just either way, how you feel about that, what you'd like to see done. If you feel like your civil rights are being infringed upon, I would seek out some civil rights organizations like the ACLU. There's one called, I can't think of the name of it, but contact them and see, what can I do? What can I do to let my voice be heard in this? I think those are the things. I mean, obviously you can write a letter to the president too. And the best things with these, if you write a letter, I would say, is to be courteous, straightforward, and very simple and clear. You know, just title it what you want to have done, and let them know super clearly. It's probably the best way. So anyway, that's just a little about that. I've been just really feeling, concerned about it, because it's sort of a Tinder, isn't it? That they have people coming in, uniform people who are red hot. I mean, they're ready to fight. And then you've got people who don't want them coming in, who are red hot, ready to fight. And that's like just a dynamite waiting to happen. And then once it happens, you're going to have both sides going, oh, they deserved it, they deserved